the NFL just lost control. Shedeur Sanders has signed a revolutionary contract outside the league, and furious owners are scrambling to stop a move that could change player power forever.
And it's suing him for $100 million because of Shedeur Sanders falling to the 5th round of NFL draft.
The clause is called prime equity. This clause gives Sanders a percentage of revenue generated from merchandise, sponsorships, and promotions linked to his name and likeness.
We may got an NIL in the NFL.
He's so smart.
Yeah, that's why he got picked so far back, because apparently his agents wanted this clause in the contract.
Oh, really? Oh, that's why. Ooh, tell me more.
He gonna get a dumb bag.
He already getting people buying them jerseys right now.
It's reported that his jersey sales have reached 250 million, which generates him
Wait, what?
14 million in commission.
He didn't ran it up.
Jesus.
He didn't ran it up.
I pray that that's real, because
He
shout out to
getting
him.
paid more than any first round pick.
Thanks.
That's why he didn't get picked.
NFL owners are absolutely furious, and they just hit back at Shedeur Sanders with everything they've got. While everyone thought Sanders got screwed by falling to the 5th round, the kid just pulled off the most revolutionary move in NFL history, a deal that's making him richer than first-round picks while completely bypassing traditional team control. But here's where it gets crazy. Sanders is leading all NFL rookies in jersey sales through a clause that's never been done before.
Sanders has a prime equity clause. The prime equity clause gives Sanders a percentage of all revenue generated from merchandise, sponsorships, and promotion tied to his name, image, and likeness.
Now, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell is literally telling Deion Sanders, "I'm worried about your pop," because they know this changes everything. The establishment is in full panic mode, legal threats are flying, and what we're about to show you will explain exactly why the NFL is terrified of what Shedeur Sanders and his family just accomplished.
But Bucky is able to be behind the scenes that way because it's in Shedeur's contract that he controls his own media. Why? Why would Shedeur want to control his own media? Because then I can paint my own narrative, and then I can let you guys hear my.
But before we dive into this bombshell story, let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind. This isn't just about one contract. This is about a systematic effort to destroy a young man's career that backfired spectacularly. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why Shedeur Sanders might be the smartest player in NFL history, even though he's sitting on the bench as a third-string quarterback. Let's start with the groundbreaking deal that has NFL owners losing their absolute minds. When Shedeur Sanders signed his rookie contract with the Cleveland Browns on May 19, 2025, everyone thought it was just another routine NFL transaction. A 5th-round pick selected 144th overall, getting his standard 4-year deal worth $4.65 million.
In business, people understand how valuable your own platform is, especially because it builds and it grows over time. And in this situation, right, him retaining full ownership of all his personal media content, that means he can post NFL.
See, here's what the media isn't telling you. While Sanders' base contract follows the standard rookie wage scale, the kid negotiated something that had never been done before in professional sports history. Hidden within the structure of his deal was what insiders are calling the prime equity clause, a revolutionary provision that grants Sanders a percentage of all revenue generated from merchandise, sponsorships, and promotion tied to his name, image, and likeness. Now listen closely, because this is where it gets absolutely insane. The specific percentage isn't publicly disclosed, but estimates suggest 5 to 6% based on reported earnings. And get this, Sanders' rookie jersey sales have reportedly hit $250 million, earning him $14 million in commission. That's more than his entire 4-year base contract. We're talking about a 5th-round pick potentially earning more in his first year than most veteran quarterbacks. But here's the genius part that has NFL owners absolutely panicking. The structure of this clause is legally bulletproof. Rather than circumventing the NFL's salary cap, it's designed as a revenue-sharing agreement treated as business income rather than player salary. This keeps it compliant with current collective bargaining agreement rules, while creating multiple revenue streams that benefit both Sanders and the Browns. Think about this for a second. Sanders essentially transformed himself from just another player into a business partner with the Cleveland Browns organization. The arrangement makes Sanders a profit center rather than just a cost on the salary cap. And the financial categories covered by the clause are comprehensive: jersey sales, apparel merchandise, promotional slogans, and digital content tied to Sanders' brand. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of Sanders' deal extends beyond mere financial compensation. The contract includes provisions that grant him full ownership of all his personal media content and digital platforms, including his Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch channels. This level of media control is virtually unprecedented in professional sports, where teams typically maintain strict oversight of player content and messaging. And here's where the story gets even more wild. The contract includes a unique NFL media rights arrangement that allows Deion Sanders Jr. and de Confort Antoine and Theodore Sader, Shedeur's half-brother, to produce behind-the-scenes content, essentially embedding his own media team within the professional structure. This provision required special approval from NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell himself, highlighting just how unprecedented these negotiations were. Now, you're probably wondering, how did a fifth-round pick get this kind of leverage? Well, that's where the story gets really dark, and it involves allegations that could shake the NFL to its core. What transpired before Shedeur's revolutionary contract was one of the most dramatic quarterback slides in recent memory, accompanied by allegations of coordinated resistance that have sparked a $100 million lawsuit and heated debates about systemic issues within the NFL. Sanders entered the 2025 draft cycle as a projected top 10 pick, with many mock drafts placing him as high as first overall to the Miami Dolphins or second to the Las Vegas Raiders. His college credentials were absolutely elite: a 72.3% completion rate, 4,134 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions in his final season at Colorado, posting a 169.1 passer rating. These statistics placed him among the elite quarterback prospects in the entire draft class. Yet, despite these statistical achievements and his high-profile college career, Sanders would watch 143 names called before his own. Let me put this in perspective for you. The immediate financial impact of this slide was catastrophic. As a projected first overall pick, Sanders could have earned approximately $48.8 million over 4 years, with a $32.2 million signing bonus. Instead, his fifth-round selection yielded that modest $4.65 million deal, representing a staggering $44 million loss in traditional contract value. But here's where the allegations get absolutely explosive. NFL Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson made perhaps the most serious allegation, claiming on the Ryan and Rodney show that a very good source informed him the NFL instructed teams not to draft Sanders to make an example out of him for treating the pre-draft process like recruitment rather than a job interview. Dickerson alleged that even the Browns were initially directed against drafting Sanders, but were eventually encouraged by an unnamed source to proceed. Former NFL MVP Boomer Esiason added fuel to these allegations, stating that multiple owners explicitly ordered teams not to draft Sanders. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith took these claims even further, reporting that owners made it clear they didn't want Sanders, comparing the situation to Kaepernick-level collusion and suggesting resentment toward Deion Sanders' influence played a significant role. The allegations became so serious that they sparked legal action. In May 2025, a Colorado Buffaloes fan filed a $100 million lawsuit against the NFL, alleging antitrust violations under the Sherman Act, racial discrimination under the Civil Rights Act, and collusion causing emotional distress. The suit demands access to internal communications, scouting reports, and an alleged 61-page arbitration report on collusion against black quarterbacks. And here's where Commissioner Goodell's concern becomes crystal clear. In a widely circulated video interaction with Shedeur Sanders, Goodell made a comment that seemed innocuous on the surface, but carried deeper implications about the league's anxiety over Sanders' influence and the precedent his son's contract might set for future negotiations. When Shedeur said they need to let his brother have his way in the league, Goodell's response was telling, "I'm worried about your pop." This wasn't casual conversation. This was the NFL commissioner expressing genuine concern about Deion Sanders' role in reshaping player negotiations. See, the commissioner's worry isn't about Shedeur's performance on the field. It's about the precedent being set by his father's business acumen and willingness to challenge traditional structures. Deion's influence represents a threat to the established order because he combines insider knowledge of NFL operations with the business sophistication to exploit structural weaknesses in traditional contract frameworks. Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam's reaction has been particularly telling. Despite his team hosting Sanders extensively pre-draft, Haslam reportedly distanced himself from the Sanders pick amid draft backlash, with sources claiming he might still pursue Arch Manning despite having Sanders under contract. This suggests internal organizational tension about accommodating Sanders' unprecedented demands while managing traditional expectations, and potential criticism from other NFL owners. The broader NFL ownership group's concerns center on the potential domino effect of Sanders' contract structure, particularly as it relates to cost inflation and loss of traditional control mechanisms. Anonymous reports indicate that some owners absolutely hate the clause for potentially inflating costs and decentralizing control. The fear isn't just about Sanders himself. It's about what happens when the next consensus first-round pick or even established veterans demand similar revenue-sharing arrangements. But here's the beautiful irony that has NFL owners absolutely seething. The very factors that caused Sanders' draft slide may have ultimately worked in his favor. By falling to the 5th round, he landed with a team willing to negotiate his groundbreaking contract terms, potentially earning more in his first year than he would have as a top 10 pick. And the results speak for themselves. Sanders is leading all NFL rookies in jersey sales, according to recent data, ranking 5th overall in the NFL despite being Cleveland's third-string quarterback. This performance is absolutely remarkable and proves one thing: the market doesn't care about draft position when there's authentic star power involved. The resistance extends beyond financial concerns to fundamental questions about media, control and narrative management, which have traditionally been jealously guarded by NFL organizations. Sanders' retention of his personal media rights represents a direct challenge to the NFL's traditionally tight control over player messaging and content. When traditional NFL media structures might frame situations negatively, Sanders' personal media team can provide context and perspective that supports his interests rather than the league's preferred messaging. This is exactly why Commissioner Goodell is worried, because they're losing control of the narrative. The legal implications of Sanders' contract have also created significant concern within NFL circles, particularly as they relate to potential challenges to existing labor structures. The NFLPA has been monitoring the clause's implementation not out of opposition, but to understand how similar arrangements might benefit other players. This attention has created anxiety among team executives about potential grievances, demands for retroactive benefits, or challenges to existing contract structures. Player agents across the league have taken notice of Sanders' success, with many reportedly studying the contract structure for application to their own clients. This has created a game-changer mentality that extends beyond individual contracts to fundamental questions about revenue sharing and player compensation structures across the entire league. The on-field dynamics have added another layer of complexity to the Sanders situation. His preseason performance created a mixed narrative that different parties could interpret according to their existing positions on his contract and role. Sanders' impressive debut against the Carolina Panthers, completing 14 of 23 passes for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, demonstrated his potential and justified the Browns' investment in his innovative contract structure. However, his struggles in the final preseason game against the Los Angeles Rams, where he took 5 sacks and completed only 10 of 18 passes for 95 yards with 1 interception, provided ammunition for critics who questioned the entire arrangement. This performance highlighted concerns about his pocket presence and decision-making under pressure that had been raised during the draft process. But here's what the critics don't want you to understand. Former NFL quarterback Robert Griffin III became a vocal defender of Sanders during this period, arguing that the team was setting him up for failure by not providing adequate support during his difficult performances. This created additional media controversy and forced Cleveland coaches to address conspiracy theories about their handling of Sanders. The international implications of Sanders' contract have also drawn attention from global sports business analysts. His global endorsement potential, leveraged through Nike's international campaigns, and his 5.7 million Instagram followers with 15% international engagement, demonstrates how modern athlete brands transcend traditional geographic boundaries. This global reach amplifies both the value and the threat that Sanders represents to traditional NFL structures, as it creates revenue streams that extend far beyond typical team-controlled markets. The international dimension becomes particularly significant when considering that Sanders' jersey sales have reportedly been strong in markets like the UK, Germany, and Brazil, where NFL viewership has been growing. Looking toward future CBA negotiations, Sanders' contract is expected to become a significant talking point that could reshape the fundamental structure of player compensation. Analysts predict the clause could spark debates about caps on NIL revenue shares or formal definitions of equity clauses. The 2026 CBA discussions may need to address whether such arrangements should be limited, regulated, or formally incorporated into league structures as standard options for players. The precedent extends beyond football to other professional sports, with basketball, baseball, and soccer leagues watching the Sanders experiment closely. Successful implementation of equity-based compensation in NFL contracts could lead to similar demands from athletes in other sports, potentially reshaping professional athletics compensation across multiple industries. Perhaps most significantly, Sanders' contract demonstrates the evolution of athlete empowerment from individual negotiation to systematic change. By successfully implementing revenue sharing tied to personal brand value, Sanders and his team have created a template that other athletes can follow, potentially reshaping professional sports compensation structures across multiple leagues. The NFL's ultimate response to this challenge will likely determine the league's relationship with its players for years to come. Whether they choose to embrace these innovations as beneficial for league growth or resist them as threats to traditional power structures will reveal much about professional sports' willingness to evolve with changing cultural and economic realities. But here's the bottom line that every NFL fan needs to understand. Shedeur Sanders didn't just sign a contract. He declared war on a system that's been designed to keep players powerless for decades. And despite being a third-string quarterback, he's already winning that war in ways that matter most, financially, culturally, and strategically. The old guard can hate it all they want, but the future belongs to players who understand that their value extends far beyond what happens between the lines on Sunday. Sanders proved that sometimes the biggest victory comes from being underestimated, and now every player in every sport is watching to see what he does next. This story isn't over. It's just beginning. And if you want to stay ahead of every development in this ongoing battle between player empowerment and NFL control, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because, trust me, what Shedeur Sanders does next is going to change everything. What do you think? Did Sanders outsmart the entire NFL system, Or are the owners right to be concerned about setting this precedent? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video if you want to see more content exposing what really happens behind the scenes in professional sports.